Alrighty, guys. This is analysis of book 1. Forgot what it's called. I think it's Dragoness of Destiny or something like that. Hold on. Freak. They have it somewhere back here. Hold on. Yeah, it's called, no, it's the Dragonite Prophecy. Okay. So how it goes, we're introduced to how Clay hatches. Alright? Clay is that dragon right there. I have no idea what that language is. That's just the first one that I can find. Hold up, bruh. I don't want the... Hold up. Yay. Okay. No. Alright, so we get introduced to Clay and how he hatches. So when he hatches, Kestrel, which is one of his caretakers, sees him trying to break open the other eggs, and she mistakes it for him killing them. Well, trying to kill them. And she's like, "You're my little monster," or whatever. Alright. And, so it cuts to the actual what we're doing timeline, and Clay's over here thinking he's not the right Dragonette for a Destiny, cause he's probably not, but we'll see later in the series. Okay, now where is my book? What? No, actually, though, where is it? Frick. Oh, right there. I'm blind. Hold on, guys. I had to grab the graphic novel so it's easier to tell. It's shorter. Alright, so after the prologue of Clay hatching, and also we find out that there's supposed to be a Skywing, but he kinda died. And so it cuts, okay, getting on to actual part. It cuts to them under the mountain 6 years after Clay hatched, and Kestrel is beating the freak out of Clay. Alright? So we see Kestrel beating up Clay, stomping his tail, and then Clay's like, "Ow, you said stomping tails was cheating. I'm your teacher." And then Kestrel's like, "I'm your teacher. Nothing is cheating." And then Kestrel's just beating the freak out of Clay, telling him to fight, and thinking, it's like, she's like, "Where's the monster I saw when you hatched? That's the dragon we need for the prophecy." And then out of nowhere, they're like, "Oh, are all mudwings useless, or just you?" And then Kestrel suddenly, "Ah!" because Tsunami, which is the sea wing of the Dragonettes of Destiny, stomped her tail. And then Kestrel goes, and Clay's like, "Blah, blah, blah, yappity yap yap, stop yapping. Oh my god." Oh, and then cows, and they're like, "Race you to the cows," or whatever. And then Clay's over here like, "The only good thing about growing up here is my friends." And then it just describes her friends. Sunny, which is the weird goofy ass sandwing that's supposed to have a scorpion tail bar but doesn't. And then there's Starflight, he's a bookworm. Nightwing. Then there's Tsunami, she's the fighter of the group. She's a sea wing. And then there's Glory, who is a rain wing, and like, she's according to this, she is smart, sarcastic, and scales turn gorgeous colors. Last time I checked, that's not true. Alright. About all she's good for is turning invisible. Alright, and then his history, they're yapping about history so confusing. Then they play out the Sandwing War of Succession, where basically there's a scavenger and the queen of the Sandwings, Oasis, who gets stabbed by the scavenger. Then her three daughters are now in a war that has to last 20 years before the Dragoness of Destiny stop it. Alright, and then it goes, Tsunami's over here being burned, who is the strongest and oldest out of all of them, most likely to win. Then there's Blister, which is the smart one and the middle child who's always forgotten. And then there's Starflight, who's the youngest child who thinks she's oh so beautiful or whatever. Oh, that's what Blaze is. Blaze is the youngest child of all of them. It's the one. That's also the one all the Sandwings like. And then they act out the war. The scavenger kills them. Yappity yappity yap yap yap. And then they're thinking which one they'd want to win. Blah blah blah. Skip ahead. Some big fat spooky dragon comes in named Moroseer. Bro's 10 times the size a normal dragon should be. But when I review the winglets or whatever, you'll see that's not normal. Well, that is kind of normal. All right. And then he comes in and he's like, oh, the creator of the prophecy. He has to go with Starflight. Yappity yap yap. Then he takes, and then all the Dragonettes of before that, all the Dragonettes of Destiny try to beat him up, like Clay, Tsunami, it's Sunny. After that's all after Moroseer smacks Tsunami in the face with his tail. Clay attacks him. He's biting his neck. And then Tsunami jumps on him and is clawing on his belly, even though Tsunami's entire body is the size of his head. And then Clay tries biting down on Moroseer, and he hurts himself when doing that. And then everyone's... And oh yeah, by the way, did I mention that Nightwings can read minds? And then we go on, he takes Starflight into a cave, and then he's over here saying Glory is useless. We'll prove him wrong later, just saying. And then, Tsunami, I'm pretty sure, gets tied up to a thing. Glory goes to take her midday nap. Yappity yap. Okay, Moroseer and Starflight come out of the cave. Then Clay asks Starflight what happened. I know what happened, but, I can't tell you yet. Just say it's kind of weird. And then, oh yeah, but yes. Tsunami is tied up. Thanks to our caretakers, which are Dune, Kestrel, and Webs. Webs is a sea wing, Dune is a sand wing, Kestrel is a sky wing. Alright, and then, yep, they've Kestrel. Kestrel burns the chains for some reason, and Moroseer has Sunny trapped. And nobody cares. And then Kestrel's like, nobody cares about you, and when it's time to fulfill the prophecy, you'll be alive, and they'll have you. That's all that matters, or whatever. Yappity yap yap, yap 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 yap. And then Tsunami starts singing the Dragonette's Destiny song. They're like, oh, the Dragonets are coming. They're coming to save the day. They're coming to fight, and I know what's right. The Dragonets are coming, or whatever. And then all the caretakers leave. Clay is trying to free Tsunami. And they tell Clay to go into the river to go spy on them. And then he hears them talking bad about Glory. And then they're like, escape or whatever. Yep, and then there's like a huge boulder blocking the exit, and it can't be opened without the key, and only Dune has the key. Yap. It turns out Clay has to go through the river. Glory turns invisible. Clay's in the river. He's swimming downstream. He's under the water. He can't see, and it turns out he can hold his breath for an hour. He's under the water, and then he goes through a really narrow cave that's really windy and twisty, and then he comes out, and he's in a waterfall, and then he's hanging over it, trying not to fall, and it turns out it's only a couple feet, and then, okay, and then and then he's over here. There's a waterfall or whatever, and then he's like, "Don't panic, don't panic, don't." And then out of nowhere, Tsunami's like, "Watch out, Clay! It's really dangerous. You might stub a claw." And then he looks down, and Tsunami's there. And then they're free from the cave, and they're flying through the sky. Yappity yap yap. Oh goody! Clay finds mud. All right, and then and they're out there. They meet Queen Scarlet. She's the villain until book 8. By the way, she's the main villain until there. All right, and then yeah, whatever. Then they're talking about Queen Scarlet. They have Queen Scarlet's treasure. Clay tries to give it back, and Queen Scarlet crushes his claw, well, talon or whatever. And then Tsunami stabs and then Queen Scarlet's about to kill Clay. And then Tsunami just takes a dagger and stabs Queen Scarlet in the tail. Alright. And then Tsunami and Clay have to leave to go back to the cave. And then they almost get burned by Queen Scarlet. And then they find a smoke thing from the people burning, from other Dragoness burning things. And then they go open the thing. And then it turns out Queen Scarlet followed them. Oh, never mind, not that yet. But, and then Clay's like, "Where's Glory?" And then Starflight's like, "We're not sure." And then Glory says, "Right here," out of nowhere appears. And then Clay's like, "You're all right." And then for some reason, the siblings, the freaking siblings, are twisting their tail together. That's a sign of boyfriend, girlfriend, bro. Like, what the freak? And that's not true. Clay likes a Skywing that sets everyone on fire whenever they're touched, and Glory likes an assassin. What the freak? Alright, and then yappity yap yap, they get imprisoned by Queen Scarlet. Dune dies. Peril is the Skywing that Clay likes. She also likes him. And then they end up having to fight an execution match. Blah, blah, blah. Glory has to fight Tsunami. Well, I mean, Tsunami has to. Oh, Glory is her pet. Is Queen Scarlet's pet scavenger pet. Well, scavenger pet, and then Tsunami kills her own father. Clay has to fight Peril for Kestrel to be free. Moral Seer comes in, swoops down, steals Starflight. And it turns out Clay can't be burned by fire, so, like, Peril fighting Clay, Peril usually just one-shots everyone, but Clay's built different, he's him. And Clay's also a lot bigger than her, even though she's a full-grown dragon and he's only 6 years old. Alright, Clay just brams her when she charges at him, and then she's on the ground and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to get away from me." And then she's over here playing the victim, and then Pharaoh's like, "I'm your friend, it's not fair. The others can have any dragon. I only want you." Like, bro, what the freak? And then Clay sands her in the eyes, so she's blind, and then she's taken out. Pharaoh doesn't have to be like this. We don't have to kill each other. Then Pharaoh's like, "We do. Dragons kill each other all the time. That's how we are. Especially you and me. We're the same. We're killers from the moment we hatch." That's not who I want to be. Yappity yap about the prophecy. Yappity yap. Oh yeah, and before this, Clay had to fight an Ice-Wing, and the Ice-Wing was about to clap Clay's cheeks. And then Glory, turns out she has magical death spit. Alright, where she can just one-shot anyone by spitting on them. And then Queen Scarlet's like, "Use your venom. I didn't even get to see it the first time." And then Clay's like, "But I didn't." And then Peril's like, it really wasn't you." And then Glory out of nowhere, she goes, "Hiss!" And then goes to spit on Burn, but Burn uses Queen Scarlet as a body shield, and Glory turns out to spit on Queen Scarlet's eye, making her permanently blind. And then everyone's like, and she's like, "Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah." And then they're like, "Is the queen dying?" Or whatever, yappity yap. They're free from the prison. Peril. It turns out that Peril baits them. They free Sunny. Turns out Peril was trying to get them killed in the first place. Or whatever. Yap. They find Kestrel. Free Kestrel. Turns out Kestrel's daughter is Peril, and also Kestrel also has another sibling. And its name is you'll see later, but Peril was born with too much fire, and the other dude had not enough fire, and then they leave, and then they go to the Mudwing Kingdom to find Clay's parents, and it turns out that they find a Mudwing battleground against Mudwings versus Icewings, stuff everywhere, bunch of blood, stuff like that. Glory disguises as a Mudwing, and Clay goes there. Clay finds his siblings, and then Clay's siblings take them to his mom, and it turns out his mom sold Clay for a cow. Well, actually, no, 2 cows. And then, his siblings find out that one of them died, and turns out Clay wasn't trying to kill the other Dragonets of Destiny. He was just the first one who hatches, aka the Big Wings is what the Mudwings call it. Which means, like, stuff. And, yeah. And then they're like, they realize they're the prophecy, and then they're back. And, like, Starflight got dropped back down from 10,000 feet in the air. And then there's the epilogue where Blister's meeting with Morrowseer and Kestrel on Seawing territory. Then Blister stabs Kestrel straight through the heart and dead. So guys, that's it for today. That's it for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more analysis stuffs. Yay!